My name is Clinton St. Hilaire, and I am servicing the window and door industry. I help turn attention into inquiries using strategic video strategies. And I'm joined by Ian Sanders, a gentleman that caught my attention on LinkedIn with a very eye-catching and quite fabulous period door that he rescued and restored. And before we get into this podcast and we uncover everything that Ian's about and we share some value and some knowledge and some insights, I'd like to hand over to Ian to introduce himself.
Good morning, Clinton. Thanks for having me on. So my name's Ian Sanders, and I run my own small little company called Ian Sanders Property Restoration and Maintenance, which basically I've got a huge passion for history and restoring the older properties.
I love that. So, as I said before we hit record on here, my goal is to just network and do a deep level of market research into individuals like yourself, your whole ethos around what you do, how your journey started, the mission, the vision. Obviously, we might not cover everything we've listed in our document, but ultimately, I'd just like to start with you just explaining about this 1890s door that you rescued from Newcastle, because I saw the picture, and obviously I'm interested in pictures and doors, and I just thought it was really stand out, and I love the fact that you was able to restore this property with a piece of history that's definitely stands the test of time. And with your intervention, go ahead.
I mean, basically, it breaks my heart when people rip out original features with these Victorian and Georgian properties, and it's my mission to make sure that I put everything back exactly as it was when the houses were built. So I try and source stuff if they're not there to near on the exact timeline that they should be. So the house originally the client had like a 1980s door on there, which was completely rotten, incorrect frame. So I was able to source a door pretty much to the exact year the house was built. I custom made the frame, looking at the original frames and doors along the street that still had them remaining, and was able to copy those designs. And just to add a little extra as well, the glass that you can see above it, where I've got the number 2, that's hand blown glass. So when you look at like the old sash windows, you'll see all the bubbles and the ripples and the seeds and everything in the glass. It's little attention to detail like that makes such a huge difference, and people have noticed.
Class.
A lot of people putting it up, and
I can really appreciate that, because having that is not very common. I mean, I'm sure there's loads out there and you can get all of this stuff, you can do it, but it's not very common. You don't walk down the average street today and just see a full row of houses with doors like that, right?
No, I've done for many clients, and they've all reported back along similar lines, saying that all the neighbours have said they've now got the best front door in the whole street. The best house frontage, especially when I do the sash windows. I mean, you'll get a lot of sash windows companies will come in, rip them out, replace them with hardwood double glazed timber sashes, or the plastic ones, which from across the street they can look okay, but I can spot them a mile off, and no, it's not right. I'm all about the old hand blown glass, traditional ropes and pulleys, single pane, and people can complain that they're drafty, they rot, that sort of thing, but looked after and set up properly, they're actually really good. Obviously, you're not going to get the performance that you would have a new double glazing window, but if you're living and restoring an old property like that, it's the way to go, I think. As I say, broken panes get replaced with the old ripply glass, and they are to the exact detail that they would have been when the house was built. Again, I've done a lot of those in and around the Bristol area that have had a lot of attention.
Do you find, Ian, that the kind of people that invest in restoring, the history of the property are doing it for the love and, the history of it, and, just to experience the heritage? Or do you think the majority of people do it to uphold the value because maybe it might add more value to the property? Or is
the first point, Clinton, first and foremost, more of that. The majority of people that live in these sorts of properties are passionate, like me, about these sorts of properties. So I get the impression it's more to do with a big labour of love than it is to do with the money. You find more, people just doing up houses, complete rip outs, a refurb. The guys that are in it to make money, you often find they're not too concerned about the character traits, and a lot of stuff gets ripped out. So we're kind of on different pages when I'm up against those sorts of guys.
No problem. So that door is really nice. So it's like it looks wider than the average door, right? How wide is that?
Yeah, they're bigger. So that when they fit the 1980s frame, which is like the modern size doors, the frame was a lot smaller. So the whole lot had to come out. I had to build a bespoke one to, as I say, if I've not got a reference point, I'll look around until I find original features on houses nearby. And I've got a knack for spotting what's original and what's been reproduction. So I know when stuff's really old. So that's what I'll base it on. I'll go and take measurements, pictures, and the rest I can just do by hand in the workshop and get it all made up.
And your customers know that you're doing this, that you're actually going out there, complete, custom, bespoke service, finding a solution where there's not a direct product you can just go buy. Now that's adding tons of value. And like, what's the experience for them? Like, when your customer knows you're doing this, do you tell them that you're literally going out there from zero and finding a solution and just custom making this? Like, is that what they know you do?
Pretty much, yeah. It's all bespoke stuff. So, if a lot of my stuff comes from word of mouth. So if they've had word on this, they know what they're getting.
Perfect. So like, what's your sort of what's the experience like? How do your customers respond knowing that you've gone out there and just put all this together with not knowing where to like go in terms of? Sorry, it just goes back to what I was saying about, you can just contact a composite door supplier now and just pick any color door you want and it'll get delivered. But you're going out there and you're looking at examples, you're getting the idea, you're going off the dimensions and, the foundations you've got, you're piecing it all together, then you're going to manufacture it. Like, what's the reaction you get from the customer through that process to the end?
Most of them are blown away, actually, and can't believe how much work goes into it.
Right.
For example, the black door that you saw for that client, that was most of the original ironmongery, which I completely polished back to a mirror finish, which were dull, sort of browny green colour, little scratches and dents and stuff in them. And they just wouldn't believe when I said originally what I was going to do and what I was going to look like. And they look like they've just been made. You can't buy that sort of stuff anymore. Not solid, really heavy duty brass fittings. I'm sure you could have them made, but you just don't get anything off the shelf like that. Which is why I try and salvage as much as I can. Some people want them. I remember one customer in Bristol wanted them all the ironmongery black. And it was, they were all rusty and in a terrible state, and they weren't brass, obviously, being rusty. So I took them all home, acid stripped them, sanded them all back, and then triple two-pack black them, and they just looked absolutely amazing. That was on a bright red pillar box door, similar style, but a 2-panel, not a 5.
Wow, I can imagine. This might sound a bit bizarre, but do you ever get people that live in modern homes or even new builds that want a historic door on, or does it not make sense?
No, I've never had that. It's different types of people. The people that live in these types of houses are generally a lot different to the people that live in modern type houses, I tend to find.
Yeah. It just crossed my mind because I thought, because you get these new modern composite doors, which are good, I suppose, but then
they're very good.
And you get those that look, period. They design them in that way, don't they? To look old school.
But they don't. If you compare one, this is what I'm saying. It's like the plastic sash windows and the double glazed hardwood timber ones. From across the street, you get away with it for what most people would see, and it creates the look that a lot of people are happy with. But no, to me, it's just like, no.
Yeah, I can appreciate that.
All the way. Doesn't matter. I've had one specific style of door in Knoll in Bristol that they wanted to match in perfectly with the neighbours, and I couldn't get one reclaimed for love nor money. For me to make it, they weren't prepared to pay the cost. So I did get a bespoke company to actually manufacture that one, and I fitted it and painted it and put all the nice ironmongery on. And for the most part, it looked really, really, really good. But again, compared to the original, you can still tell the difference. And that was a bespoke timber made one, you know, so the composites just aren't going to touch it.
Yeah, of course, I get that. So I have a question. So this is based around your origin story. You've been in the property maintenance and restoration, game for over 20 years. What was the moment you knew this was just more than a job and that it was your?
Well, it's actually 30 years now. I need to update my
Is it?
write-up.
Oh,
It was
you, okay.
Yeah, it was 92 that I started.
Nice.
So originally, I was a roofer originally by trade,
Mhm.
and started my own roofing firm. And then I had quite a few guys on for me, and then we started to do extensions, loft conversions, and expand like that. And then I found it all too stressful, and it's just it's a good job, but it's not where my passion lies. And I think I was always good at fixing stuff and making things when I was younger. Both my granddad and my father were engineers, and so I was brought up with them fixing cars, mending things on the house. So I was kind of brought up with it, and it's got to be in you as well, I think. Because, for example, my brother was brought up the same way as me. He's not interested in any of that sort of thing, and always gets people in to do work. In fact, I was over his house a couple of days ago putting up fences. So I think it's got to be in you. And I realised, although roofing was a good trade, I needed to sort of follow my passion. And in doing the roofs and working on the houses, I'd notice a lot of things and end up talking to customers about, their windows, their doors, period features on their property, and then they'd say to me, "Well, why don't you take a look at that? Why don't you try and do this for me?" So I did.
Wow.
I'm one of those sorts of guys. I can pretty much see how things should be, how they've been mucked about with, and how to put them back to how they are. It's second nature. I don't really need to think about it. It's just I know what has to be done.
That's specializing, and this is what I wanted to get out of you because I knew, and because I love specialization. You see,
Mm.
I just feel like if you can really specialize in something and just work within a specific market, it's really fundamental for the success of like your business, but it's also providing something that people, a service and someone that people can really trust.
Yeah.
In the door industry, there's been a massive decline in, trusted installers. And I think when I mean, most fitters can fit a door. And it's like, if we're talking in general terms, not what you do, it's like, how do you specialize when it's so commoditized? And I guess it just comes down to your credibility and your reputation over time, which is how you can be trusted. But to be a specialist in what you do and handling, period properties, that's a delicate procedure as well.
It
That's like
is.
that has to be done properly. I mean, and then for someone like you to be able to restore it to its former glory, that's just like what's the word?
Yeah.
Preservation. That's the word,
Preserve, preservation. Yeah.
yeah. And I just love that. So well done to you for that. I mean, that's an interesting story, and
Yeah.
the,
Thanks, Clinton. It's always nice to have good feedback.
yeah,
Um,
sure.
again, just I don't think a lot of tradesmen are really interested in what I do. For
No.
example, I do a lot of old stone and brickwork and line repointing, and I've got one coming up in a couple of weeks actually.
Hmm.
And the house is about 300 years old, and the guy has just had a terrible time trying to find somebody who's even willing to rake it all out and repoint it in. Whereas to me, that's one of my favourite sorts of work because again, it's putting it back to as it was when it was built.
I hear that.
Someone's gone into it in cement at some point, which is obviously causing damp problems. And so I've been called in to get rid of everything and put it all back to line how it should be.
So this leads to my next question, which is perfect. So this is about mission driven. So basically, in a world of quick fixes and in a world of quick fixes and cheap contractors, what's your non-negotiable standard, and why do you think it's increasingly rare?
My non-negotiable standard is excellence and superior attention to detail.
Ooh,
And
superior
I think the
detail.
reason it's so rare is because of the patience and the time needed to get into these sorts of things. Most people don't possess that.
Right, exactly. Do you think as well that I don't want to say average, I just mean like outside of what you do. Do you
Yeah.
think there's a lot of pushback on what customers are willing to pay versus what the type of customer is willing to pay you? So, for example, do you ever? I get the feeling that what you do, customers, the type of customers that own those houses are already like quite well off and probably wouldn't bat an eyelid to what it's going to cost, and
They just want it done right.
they just want it done right exactly. Then if you've got like windows and doors, which yes, customers are paying a lot of money for, but don't really value because there's no story attached to it. There's no real impact and emotion. It's more just transactional. Do you think that them guys? Well, not all fitters. I don't want to point any fitter out in a bad way because some amazing, modern day fitters that do an amazing job. But for the ones for some of them, do you feel like they just get a bit of a kickback and then that's how the job can be just like compromised, or do you think that's just down to a poor fitter that probably shouldn't be in the industry at all?
Um, a bit of both, I would say.
Yeah,
You probably get people on both sides of that. Like I say, my actual company mission, because you asked me as one of the questions, is to
yeah,
basically preserve in the store, preserve and restore the beauty of what once was. And for
wow.
that, you need to feel the history in something. This is why nothing reproduction, no matter how good, works for me. It's why I never drive new cars. All my stuff's over 40 years old because you can feel the history and the life and the stories that the things had. Do you know what I mean? It's the same with houses. It doesn't matter how good a reproduction is. You could build a new build using identical materials of a Victorian house exactly next to the other one, and it would be dead to me.
you are the full you are the full embodiment of the heritage, and
Yeah,
that's what's rare.
this is why I'm good at what I do because I feel it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
and that's
most
what I
guys
do.
aren't interested.
Say that again, sorry.
And most guys aren't interested. This is why
Hmm.
people have struggled to get people in to do this type of work. I mean, they're about. There are guys like me, and there are guys like me that love it, but they are few and far between.
Yes, I get that. I can relate to that a lot because with my filmmaking for this industry, what I it's mandatory for me to tell a story to drive an emotional impact. And so when my clients are perceived in the market, they're not just seen as anybody else. They're seen as someone with a story. People buy into story. They buy into that person. They buy into the whole experience of it. And I don't think you can get closer than historic, like heritage, like, bringing things back from a time that was good, the original source, the things that the younger generation wouldn't even know about or even be
No,
able to
no, no,
appreciate.
no.
You can attach so much meaning to it, but I think that's really impressive. I mean, you drive, yeah, the way you embody it, that just build, all of that is just, you can't get any more authentic than that. And then obviously it'll just work. So that's how your name goes around then.
Yeah, exactly that. Word of mouth, just from what I do. There are tons of really super skilled tradesmen, but they just might not, for instance, have the interest in period restorations and get in the history for stuff. Not to say that their work's not impeccable, but it's something that's got to be in you, I think.
I hear that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've got another question here, which I think is interesting about period properties. What's the biggest mistake homeowners make when with heritage and period buildings that keeps you up at night?
Yeah. Well, um, I mean, it's ripping out original features, going in and gutting a beautiful place. I've seen it all too many times. And you get, especially happens when they're turning it into flats. Yeah, you'll get a beautiful old Victorian building. It's happened recently to me. You go in there. I went in there initially to have a look. I was like, this could be gorgeous. Well, it is gorgeous. When I went in there, when it was finished, from it's a guy I know specialises in refurbs and that sort of thing. It looked like a brand new build. Plain white skirts, magnolia walls, not a piece of cornice or a fireplace in sight. Don't get me wrong, the frontage was beautiful. He kept all that lovely, the curb appeal, but the inside looked like new build flats. And I'm like, this makes me feel ill.
Ill. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, all
Only,
that history. I think to myself, it's been there for 200 plus years. Nothing's ever happened to it. And he's gone in and the lot's gone.
well,
And I see it all the time. So to me, as well as beauty, I see the rarity in things. And so these things are just getting rarer all the time because this sort of thing's happening all the time. Even in the 30 years that I've been doing it, you're noticing less and less. Although there is a turnaround, more people are seeing the beauty in it and restoring it, but there's still far too many out there ripping it out as far as I'm concerned. And that's sacrilege.
wow. Yeah, I can appreciate that. My next question is about the vision. So, if you could take on one dream project anywhere where you are, what would it look like and why?
What whereabouts or well, I don't actually mind where it would be. But in terms of the things that I love working on, or anything from the Georgian and Victorian era. So if you sat me in a big house and said, here's a blank checkbook, get this perfect, that would be my dream job.
Right, just you just in just from the bare bones and just go to town on it.
Yeah, they said, I want this house perfect exactly as it was when it was built.
Right. So, in other words, you want the full thing, not just parts of it. You want to just get the whole thing and just go, whoom, transform it.
In an ideal world, yeah, it doesn't happen like that. But people call me in for different sorts of stuff. Like the cast iron radiators are a good one. Again, reclaimed all the way because the new ones just do not look the same. But I add the little extra finishing touches. I put all the little brass taps on and the brass pipe shrouds and strip them all back. And obviously they have to be pressure tested. But then repaint them all, and they're amazing things.
Yeah,
Get a lot of call for that as well. Again, stuff that most people can't be bothered with.
I hear that. I hear that. Do you think people can't be bothered with it because it's all about just getting? I mean, there has to be a love for it to start with, but do you think?
Well, there's reproduction that will do the job and does look good. But again, it's about that history thing. They're not quite as heavy, they're not quite as thick, they're not quite as detailed, and they don't have the history with them. So when I did my personal house, when I was that was an Edwardian place that I restored. The sash windows, the cast iron radiators, everything was perfect. It's sold now, but yeah, you have
Um,
to move to projects new, don't you? But yeah, that's my dream sort of work, really.
wow. Have
They
you
don't
ever? Oh, sorry.
they don't come up often.
No, okay, I can appreciate that. Have you ever worked on a modern project for longer than you'd like to have worked on one?
Yeah, yeah, of course. I take on modern projects as well. It's not. I'm not passionate about it, but I'll still walk out there and the place will be absolutely immaculate.
Hmm.
I'm doing one now currently. It's literally plastering and painting rooms, refitting skirting boards for somebody. Which after this interview, I'm going down to plaster today. Yeah, it's to work like that to me. I love plastering, but it's soulless. It's the red gypsum plaster on it goes. Whereas the client that had the black door had excuse me, a perfect lime plaster ceiling, which was cracking. So I stripped all the paint off it, repaired all the cracks in lime. Should be on my LinkedIn actually. I'm pretty sure I posted it on there. And then the whole ceiling looks absolutely perfect now. She
Wow.
was almost tempted to leave it in the bare lime. It looks so good. But because the whole room was being painted white, eventually we ended up painting it white. But the ceiling looks brand new. But I know that it's the original ceiling, all in its correct line.
Right.
It's nice.
You are on this. So,
Yeah.
my other question is, what's the big goal for the business in the next 2 to 3?
Well, here's the thing with that. So I've got a Ukrainian guy who's not long been with me, who's come out of a different trade, and he's picking up stuff so fast. He's a lot younger than I am, and he's got a passion for it. He needs guidance because he's not from here, so he doesn't really know about all the history and stuff. But he knows what he's doing while he's working, and I need to pass these things down if I can because I'm in my 50s now, and I don't want to be doing it forever. I want to be kicking back in the sun.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's all about having the right team to carry on the Ian Sanders name.
Yeah,
And
which is tough because when I was in Bristol with my team,
yeah,
it's hard work making sure everything's done to your standard, how you want it, and making sure everyone's where they are, where they're supposed to be at the time they're supposed to be there. So yeah, it's only recently that I've thought about, passing my skills down and taking someone else on. And for the most part, it's going well at the moment.
that's awesome. So, in terms of legacy, then, what does the name Ian Sanders mean to you in 10 years' time? And what do you want to have built beyond the buildings?
What do I want to have built beyond the buildings? My reputation. I'd love it to carry on. I'd love the company name to continue long after I'm on the tools, so to speak.
Got
So if I,
you.
can, I don't have a son, so if I can pass that down to Max, who's the lad, then that's all good. That's all good.
Absolutely.
I want to
Um,
keep holding because it's rare to find someone who's that interested in this stuff, you know?
yeah, that's a true point. I can
Yeah,
relate to
especially because it's
that.
younger as well.
Yeah, yeah, no, I appreciate that. I can get that. If they're young and passionate, they've got the energy, the drive, and you have to be physically and mentally strong for this kind of
Yeah,
role, which is important. Um,
which I
so
am, but I'm getting old now.
you look good, by the way. I must say, yeah, you
Thanks
do.
very much. Thanks very much.
So with that being said, obviously, carrying on the name, having the right people in place that you can trust is important because of your reputation that you've built over 30
Yeah.
years. Do you think that continuing to rely on word of mouth is a good strategy, or do you have like ads and do you have like branding and marketing campaigns in place?
Um, Word of mouth is a preference only because I like it when I'm recommended by somebody. But a friend of mine did design me a website, which isn't bad. And I advertise in local papers. But that's it.
Awesome. Local paper and website new build. Yeah, just taking these notes. No, I like that. And obviously, with your LinkedIn efforts, when you post on LinkedIn, are you just posting for awareness, or are you hoping that some leads will come from that? So people would probably say, "Hey, look, we want to talk to you about ours." Do you kind of hope that sometimes you'll get comments from LinkedIn? And how often do you get comments from LinkedIn?
So the reason, yeah, for both. And yeah, I do get leads off of that.
Awesome. I like that. I'm glad that you get them. I'm glad that you get
It's
them. How
also good
many?
just to get out there and see what I can do, what's being done, what people think of it, and the hunger that there is for it. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people that want that sort of beauty, but they don't know where to come to. So
Exactly.
it works.
Exactly. No, I'm really glad that's happening for you, to be honest.
Mm.
Um, Ian, it's been a good call with you. We're coming up to the end of time, but before we leave, I just want to say thank you very much for this information.
Pleasure, Clinton.
I love the history. I always leave with a little takeaway and a little gift offering for people I'm speaking to on this. Basically, in terms of where you're going and what you've said, I love it all. I'm looking forward to putting these clips out. I'll send you all these clips as well. You can post them on your social media. There's
Brilliant.
some there's a bit of insight into you here that people might not have heard, and they get to feel and see you. So if someone is looking for a property or parts of it to be restored after watching some of these clips, they'll probably think that's my guy. What I do, Ian, as well is I make brand films which touch four pillars of value. And a brand film is designed to last 5 to 10 years. And it's what I call a conversion asset. So if you imagine the best advertisements growing up on the TV or just over time on the TV, the ones that look premium and stand out, that do the job of basically selling to the right people. I make these for people like yourself, and they sit on LinkedIn at the top. They'll be featured. It'll be on the website, and if you've got any other social media, it'll be pinned there as well. So when you're posting around and people come to your profile, it'll be the first thing that they see, and it'll be all about you. If you ever was interested in looking at how one of them could be made for you, cinematic, premium, high quality, and really dive into all the attributes of you, I'm doing a 50% discount on them for
Let me
these.
say this: it sounds excellent, Clinton. But you want to be talking to my partner because she deals with all my marketing and everything else. She'll be
Yeah.
the one to speak to about that. So do you want to speak to her? Not now, obviously, because you're busy, but if you email her at the email address I gave you, she
Yeah.
can set something up.
Yeah, it's only if you want one. If you want to talk about it and, like uncover how it could benefit you, then absolutely let's do that.
Yeah, sounds perfectly good. Lovely. That's brilliant, Clinton. No worries. Thank you very much.
No, you're very welcome, and I honestly really appreciate your time and the information. And what I've learned about you is absolutely brilliant. And maybe hopefully, I'll be shooting for you, and I'll come down and hopefully see some of the work you've done in person.
Fantastic. Yeah, brilliant. Lovely job.
Well, you have a good day, sir. Thank you for your time, and we'll speak soon.
Clinton, nice to meet you.
Likewise. Bye bye.
Cheers.